This is a Not Just A Guy production. Let me talk at ya. Welcome one and all to Not Just A Guy, the show about struggling storytellers. I'm your host, Not Just A Guy, the guy, Garrett Briones. And this week I am joined by not just a guest, the guest, an actor, script supervisor, musician. There's so many things under the sun that she can do. I am joined by a close friend, Nala Clophus. Nala, thank you for coming on to the show.
Of course, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm delighted to have you. We met each other in film school. We had with Steve Miller. We had I think that class was Intro to TV Production, or I can't remember the exact title. We met, and then we had that class, and then we had mutual friends, and that was almost, I don't know if you know this, that was almost like 4 years ago. That's crazy.
God,
that was
feel that long.
That was the last. Also, that was the last quarter that, at least for myself, I had fully on campus. Because in the next quarter, that novel coronavirus would hit, and the pandemic would go to our school. But that's a different story for a different day. But Nala, I'm very happy to have you on here. You have been mentioned in a previous episode, and I don't mean to make you blush or make you get overwhelmed with put you on the spot, but I did say that as an act, when it comes to your work as an actor, you are someone that once anybody gets eyes on you, you are going to just I already foresee it. You are someone, there's a reason why many people want to work with you, and you're just someone that I just know when the right moment hits, it's to the moon.
Oh, Garrett. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I mean every word of it. I'm not just blowing smoke. But Nala, I start all these by asking a question to every storyteller that comes on this show, and that is, Nala, are you struggling?
I am struggling.
As a storyteller, as a person, in what way?
As I feel like as a person, I am actually like set and like who I am. But as an artist, I feel like I want to do so many things.
Gotcha.
And so I'm kind of struggling on if I should focus on like one thing or if I should just do it all. And how to actually get to where I want to be, but with the strikes and everything, it's kind of hard. So I guess it's a struggling mindset.
Hello. What are the cat? There's a cat.
There's a cat.
What is the cat's name?
This is Solia. This is my pride and joy.
Okay.
Okay, goodbye.
Those are beautiful green eyes. This is the second time this is a spoiler for a future episode, but there was another cat cameo, and I had the exact same I was in the middle of speaking about something, and I just went cat. So what are the things that you're caught between artistically?
So I am wanting to make music. I have a band that we just haven't made music at all. Gotcha. But it's like a rock band, and then I want to make music by myself, separate from the rock persona. And so I'm trying to figure out my sound, like my own sound. And then I want obviously to act and write, and I'm writing a poetry book.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
So it's all of these like creative things. And then I have been like, okay, I'm doing so many like left brain things. I need something to kind of like stimulate my right brain. So I started learning how to code.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw you mention that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I really like math, and I just needed something to work that part of myself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting. I was literally today, they were recording this. I spoke to our mutual friend, Johnny Rome, and we were talking about, if you have anything you want to say. I know Johnny is a listener, so if there's anything you want to say about them, just to make them blush and giggle, you can go ahead and say it.
Okay. Well, Johnny is like one of my best friends. Like, actually, probably my best friend. And
you heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks.
Exclusive.
I just have such a deep, deep, deep love for them. Like, they are so like just a genius. And I love them.
I have mentioned them many a time on this very program. We were talking about that, the idea of, you know, we you know, all three of us went to the same film school, and it's like this idea that, you know, you got to be 100% focused on the thing you went there for. You know, for you is acting, for myself it was directing. And but then there's also other things that, you know, like sometimes I think about, like, I would maybe like to write a book, or I would like, you know, I'm working, Johnny put me on to an audio drama, which has been a fun thing to try and make, you know, without the visuals of the, you know, the main thing I went to school for is a visual art, and I'm doing something where I'm taking the visual part out. And I've mentioned on this show before that one day my dream is my best friend and I perform in a professional wrestling match together. That's like, there's so many things in it. You get that feeling of like, am I betraying myself, or am I going away from the dream? But all those other avenues of artistry and storytelling can be just as fulfilling as the thing that you went to school for, or you learned about, or that you have that passion for.
Exactly. I just think that art, I'm gonna say like the muse kind of just like hits us in wherever space that we are at in the moment. And so if you want to write a book, just write a book. Because there's so many ways to create art, and I don't think that we should be confined in what we went to school for, because that person that we met each other as in CCH, we are not that people anymore. Like we're taking that person with us, but like we've grown, we're older, and we have different life experiences. So why not take those life experiences and morph the world with that, you know?
Yeah, I fully get what you're saying. I love that idea, and that, yeah, to not kind of pigeonhole yourself to one thing, because, you know, you can tell your story and the stories you want to tell in different mediums, and there's always going to be people that, you know, I might make a movie, but there might be someone that the story I'm telling in that it could really mean something to them, but maybe they don't watch movies. I know so many people our age that just don't watch movies, you know, that's not something that interests them, but they'll watch, you know, they'll listen to a podcast, or they'll watch a video on YouTube, or they'll, you know, they'll read, you know, whatever it is, that there's so many people you might not be reaching by just limiting yourself to one avenue of storytelling.
Exactly. Yep.
So I want to know, I call this, I always say segments. They're not really segments, but I in my notes, I call this twin suns, just because in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker looks out at the two suns because he dreams of something bigger. I felt that way as a kid in a small town. I was like, I got to get out of here someday. I want to know, when did your journey as a storyteller begin? How did that fit into your background, where you grew up? Was it something that you told people immediately, I want to be a storyteller, I want to be an actor, and they immediately were like, yes? Or were they, you know, what was the reception when you told people? Where did it all begin for you?
For me, it began, I wanted to be a singer at first, and then my mom was like, you can't sing. And I was like, okay, sick. That is so cool that you said that to me. And then so they, you know what, fine, I'm just gonna act, because I wanted to be a performer. And then literally I was just like in plays in like elementary school, and then I went to a performing arts middle school, and then I went to high school, and it was kind of like a regular high school because I wanted that experience.
Gotcha.
And then I met this lady, and I started going, and I lived out in San Diego at the time. And then when I met this lady, she told me about how her daughter went to an acting class in LA. And then so I started like every weekend driving to LA from San Diego to take this woman's acting class. And that was when I was like 15. And then so I was like really like I was really dedicated to acting from a very young age. And then whenever I would tell someone, they'd be like, okay. Like they never
accepted it.
Like, yeah, they're like, okay, sure, go ahead, Nala. And then the only person that doubted me is my sister, but okay. Okay, so she at the time was maybe 7 or 8, and I was going away for college, And so I was like telling her how I wanted to be an actor, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to this film school and blah 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 blah. And then she was like, but like, why do you have to do that? Like, why can't you just do something else? Because she wanted me to say where I was so that
gotcha.
she had access to me. So it's not that she didn't believe in me. She just was a kid and didn't want her big sister to leave. Genuinely, I have not had anyone who was like, you're not going to make a kid. Like, and I am so grateful for that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't have that. And I'm so grateful for everyone in my life that has like believed in me.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So this starts very young, and you already get into the acting. Do you remember what some of your earliest performances were? Like something where was it in like a play? Was it in something that was taped? Like what do you remember from some of your earliest performances? Were they in plays, I assume?
Yes, they were in plays. Okay. So I did a play. I could not tell you what it was. I think, I don't know, but I know that I was a tree.
Yeah. Okay.
All kids are. And then another play that I did was something about like lying to a king about, and like, yeah, about like, and he what like the king has no clothes, I think, something around that.
Okay.
And I was one of the people that had speaking roles, and I remember being nervous and but like obviously like still doing it, and I don't know when the nerves started like to kick in, because I know that I wasn't always like nervous, but in that performance I was. And my one line that I remember was, so we had to switch it because my principal was leaving. And I don't remember my principal's name, so we're gonna say her name is Miss Smith.
Okay.
But I had to be in the crowd and I had to yell, "Looking good, Miss Smith!" Like, literally, yeah.
Okay.
And then, oh, I remember the role.
Okay.
That I was a tree, like not the role, but like the play. So it was the tortoise and the hare.
Oh,
and
okay.
When we were doing like casting, I was sick that day, and I think there was like I don't remember what role, but there was a role I really wanted, and I was sick, so I didn't get it. And then but I got like the understudy for it, and I know that this is really, I was a kid, like I was in elementary school, and then so I would literally like pray. I would be like, please let this person be sick.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, I was just playing on this person's downfall so I can like be this role. Not good. I wouldn't do it now. But it didn't work because I was still the tree. But yeah.
Okay, so you obviously have that passion. I mean, you're praying to the good Lord, asking for someone else to get the nickety split. Okay, so you have this prior experience. You mentioned you're already driving out to LA for acting classes. You already have had an education in acting and in performance. So when you land in Hollywood, the big city, for when it's time to go to college, is there any kind of adjustment period, or did you go in feeling pretty good, like I have a good grasp on this, but I'm ready to learn more? What was it like when you first landed at Columbia College Hollywood?
I felt like I had a pretty good grasp, but it was the life aspect that was kind of getting me. The first week of school was literally hell on earth. And it, like, genuinely, I was like, okay, yeah, like I know what I'm doing. Like I have like some experience in acting. Like I'm just gonna be here, make friends, learn some stuff, whatever. But like outside of school and outside of like acting, that week, like I saw someone like breaking into a car, and I used to have like a purity ring and I lost that. And then like there was like supernatural things like happening in my first apartment, still in the span of a week. And then I got into a car crash that week. And then I was just like, what is this? And I just like cried to my mom. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she was like, what? You just got there. And I can definitely say that life did not get that much better, but I learned what I needed to learn.
Okay.
So yeah.
Some people would have taken that as a sign, as an omen that maybe this wasn't the way for them, but you stayed, you
Yep.
persevered, you pushed on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go to CCH. What do you think, as far as like in class learning, what do you think you kind of picked up and gained from the actual, rhetoric or the actual like lessons? What do you think changed about you as an actor when you went through the CCH system?
I can't just steamroll my way through acting,
Okay.
because with other like with art, it kind of just takes time to fully like sink in, like with like the whole rehearsal process and everything, and just needs to seep in. And I at the time would try to do as many courses as I can, so I can like get out of school and try to get into the real world. And I had teachers that would be like, oh, like this was like really good, blah 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 blah. And it was just literally me taking the script and doing like the bare minimum work and then going off of instinct. And because I was like, oh, like I know this, like they taught me this, so I'm just gonna like feel it in my body and then go. As far as what I was like really taught, the only thing that really kind of sticks to my head is Swanbeck's class. And John Swanbeck, and just like kind of like staying still for the camera. All of the other classes I cannot remember, because I was just like going and going and going, and then the pandemic hit, and so I was just like on survival mode because I was also working, but then also doing like 20 units a quarter. So I was just literally don't know. And then so all I remember is being in bed and in class, but not what I learned. So it's the teachings are somewhere in my body. I know that they are.
Gotta tap into them somehow. That's something that hasn't come up on the show. I mean, we've talked about, and I will continue to ask you about pandemic stuff related to school, but I didn't really think about that until you just kind of said that right now, that there was so many classes I took, because my last year and some change was on Zoom, that I do realize I know I was in the classes. I was there. I didn't miss them, but I could barely tell you what I learned in them, because just there's something about, which is funny because especially our generation, we watch stuff on screens all the time. We retain that. I could barely tell you anything that, because I was just like, I'd be sitting there like staring at my like posters in my room, like, what is this? Like, and then most of the classes were just kind of like, eventually they just let you dick around a little bit. Like, I was just like, we had podcasting with Jonathan London, friend of the show.
My God.
My pod father. I like, we just did like whatever, like, we would listen to the stuff, but then most of it was just like, we would just do whatever. And I hadn't even really thought about how just some of those, I took classes that I could not tell you what I learned in them. Thank you, pandemic. But speaking of the pandemic, specifically, I was thinking about, when I was coming up with all the notes and thinking about this, I was specifically thinking about you and other fellow actors, because I know for myself with like directing, it was a little hard, obviously, during the pandemic. A lot of things were. But for you as an actor, as an acting student who had to continue to do these classes, what was it like having to act and having, directors be on Zoom, or having to do scenes, basically you're already preparing for the self-tape process, but what was it like being an acting student and just an actor in general during the height of a pandemic where you could not be on a set or you were just by yourself? What was that like?
It was very, oh God, it like the juice wasn't there. Like there is only so much you could do on Zoom, where you're trying to like connect with your scene partner and like act your heart out, but the actual like energy of your scene partner is not there. Like you can read the facial expressions as best as you can, but you can't hear them breathing. You can't hear or like you can't like see like how their like arm moves like just a tad whenever like you say something. It was only like 50% rather than 100% when you're in person. So it was not the best experience. Like I guess putting in my what is it saying, like 10,000 hours. Like I guess I was doing that, but like for what? Like I still don't think I got as much out of being an actor in CCH during the pandemic as I could have if we were in person.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I didn't really have anyone directing me over Zoom, thank God, because I heard stories with like, where the teacher would be like, "Oh yeah, you gotta like position the cameras in a certain way." It's like, what? So thank God I didn't have that. But
yeah,
it was weird. But then whenever PW hit and I got to like be in person and acting like that, it still was all right. Because I felt like I was a little rusty with like being on set, and then with like the whole COVID restrictions and stuff, I was still like worried about like catching COVID like in the back of my mind, so I was never really present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a little skewed because a good chunk of the overall experience had to be online, and then even when you did get to go back, it was there's still COVID restrictions and guidelines and things like that. But what was your overall experience at film school? Do you think it was something that was worth your while? What did you gain from it? What were some of the drawbacks? And would you recommend film school, the formalized learning of acting? Would you recommend that to someone who's kind of at a crossroads on whether they should go to film school or just kind of make it their own way?
Usually my answer is don't go if you're an actor.
Okay.
But right now, I feel like with everything that we learned, because it wasn't like, oh, you only have gen eds and then you have 2 years of gen ed and 2 years of like your major. Because we kind of got like that history of film and like got to do everything, it is beneficial, even if it wasn't extremely beneficial to me.
What were the pros, the cons for you of going to film school?
Let's see. The pros, I got to meet really cool people like you.
Okay.
Ooh,
hey.
Yeah.
We love to see.
Yeah. I really love the people that I got to meet and still keep in touch with. The cons were this is also just kind of unique to our school, but like everything that we went through that wasn't learning, Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that I got to learn how to edit and how to write a script and all of that jazz, because now I feel like I have more of an appreciation for the other fields in film. And I feel like now that I have that insight, it makes me a better person to be on set with.
Gotcha.
Rather than the opposite, where people who don't know what other people go through on set, kind of who are actors, kind of just like are in their own bubble. And obviously this is not every single actor, but I have worked with actors who are kind of just in their own mind and in their own world and don't see the hard work that everyone is putting in. And it kind of is hard to work with them.
And now that you are graduated from that, do you feel like you were prepared for the taking on the film industry? Do you feel like it got you ready to you knew where to get your foot in the door, or you had a foot in the door? How did you feel about the transition from being a student to now you are just your full-fledged self?
I don't think I am prepared. Like, God, this is such a tricky question, because we did have to do a lot of like self-tapes for my PW course.
Gotcha.
Which I guess that helped me. But also the way that I did it, I was kind of just like cheating myself and just being like, oh, I'm gonna go off instinct. Don't know how to write a cover letter well. Like I wish, like I was taught, but we didn't go over it as much as I wanted to. Looking back, like I wish I could have done more of that. And they can only do so much teaching, because obviously the real world is going to be different. And I feel like people have told me that the industry is a lot different now, well, obviously with the strikes and everything, than it was when we first started school. So I don't know. I just feel like I don't really like to fall into the patterns on how people are like telling me to do things. Like I want to kind of just do it my way, because I feel like my way is gonna work. And I know that's like sounds so cocky, but I
love that answer.
Like I feel like my path is going to be my own way and how I navigate through the industry, and not the way that other people have done it.
I could not agree with that more. Maybe it's just because I've been stubborn since the day I was born, but I, especially, you mentioning that people tell you that the industry has changed. It's always changing. That even before the strikes, it was changing. For COVID, it was during, once streaming was kicking off, it's changed. It's so many changes happen all the time in that industry. I love my mentors from CCH. So many of the things that they give me, I'll mention him again, the Podfather. I talk to him all the time, and it's just it's not out of spite, it's not out of malice, but like when you're told this is how you do it because other people did it this way, you make your thesis film, you get it in festivals, you you do da 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 da, you work up the chain of being an AD, da 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 da. I hear all that and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to work up the chain of being an AD. Like I don't have any interest in doing that. I want to direct, I want to write, I want to act, I want to just get to these things. I don't want to have to, just because it worked that way for you or didn't work that way. Why should I just do the exact same thing in this day and age? It's like, and I get what you mean of like it being worried that it sounds cocky, but it's like, why put in the effort to do it the way that apparently other people have done it, and then maybe I don't give my all to that, and then I don't make it anyways, rather than give my all in the way I want to do it, and then so that if I do make it, it's that much more gratifying, and if I don't make it, then I'm at least falling on my own sword, I guess. But yeah, I love that answer. That really this is why we're friends, because that really connected. Like that's the same wavelength. I love that. So something I'm really into is I love behind the scenes. As much as I like the stories on the screen, I always love the stories behind the camera. And so I'm always interested in process. I always loved, because I have my own process for writing, directing, acting, all those different things. So I'm always interested in other people's processes, however you say that. So I want to know what your process is. So when a script comes to you, what is the first thing you're doing? How are you preparing? What is it that you do that maybe other people don't? What is Nala Clophus's process when it's time, you got the role? Where do you start?
It's a great question. It literally always changes. Like I never prepare the same way. Sometimes I will retype up the script. So back in the summer, I was in a play that you watched, that you came to.
I did. We will talk about that. Yes.
Yeah. So grateful that you came. But I literally took that whole entire script and retyped it up.
Okay.
So that I could kind of have my lines, but like it felt like more me. So I'll do that sometimes. If it's kind of like a shorter script, I won't do that, but I will literally like mark up the whole entire thing in like different colors, and I will like make notes with like for myself. And one of the characters, I wanted her to be more self-assured. Gotcha. And so sometimes I say a lot. So I wrote like, do not fucking say Nala. Like I swear. So like just not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So just like stuff like that. And then I would try to just live. Okay. I was going to say live as a character, but that's wrong. Like I will try to live as myself and then try to see if what I'm doing would be what the character would do if they were in my situation.
Okay.
I think a lot of the process is when I'm not rehearsing, like not rehearsing, but like not working on the script. Okay. I think for my process, it's learning as much as I can about myself and like how I react to things and how I process certain things so that I know at least how one person will handle this situation that like my character is in. And then since I know myself so well, I can try to connect with other people. And like, if they're going through something, I can obviously be there for them. But then also I'm like seeing how they are processing their situation and then be like, oh, okay, this is another way someone would process that. Yeah, literally, basically my process is being present in the moment.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, that you always hear about, you know, people, they'll listen to music or they'll write stuff as the character, things like that. And so I'm always interested like how that goes about. And yeah, I like that, you know, that you don't have it. Oh, I hit my camera. You don't have a set process. Like, you know, I from like my writing, it's the same way. For directing, it also kind of goes back to the idea of I don't like doing things the way that people say it. Like, you know, I don't immediately go to like, yeah, it always changes. I always kind of figure out what way I want to do it, especially on things where I've written it and then I act in it. I kind of cut out a lot of steps because I'm like, well, I already know I've written this character 50 times. I've changed what he's gonna say like 7 times. I don't need to add anymore. I know this guy too well. And so that's when you have like the full script, you know, you have this character. Is the process any different when you're just auditioning? Is there anything you do that's different, or is it pretty much lined up with when you know you have the role? Is there any difference? Because I know with auditioning, you have less information.
With auditioning, yeah, it's kind of like the same where I'm that part, I like will retype it so that it's like the whole getting the lines in my body. And then for that, it's a lot more of like, I need to be present. Like sometimes when I'm like on set, like I will like drift off into my own brain but then I'll like be able to come back. And like we can do like another take. But for the audition, I have to like fight to be present and all of that jazz. Like with rehearsing, I try to just like know the lines as much as I can and then try not to have the lines like be like line readings. Gotcha. So I'm not doing it the same exact way. Like I want it to be always like fresh and whatever. So yeah.
Okay. I like that. Okay. So when it comes to acting, you know, I have seen you in shorts, especially it was always fun when we were in these PW rooms and we wouldn't know who people cast. We just would know that they had cast people. And then it'd be like one short and, oh, there's Nala. And then the next session at PW is a different short. Oh, look, there's Nala. The first one that comes to mind is Trips by Shantae Too Cool. One of my heroes. So I'm curious and this is something that I really hope as the show goes along, I can continue to have people back. So at this moment in time, what are some projects and roles that you've been involved with that you're really proud of and that really stick out for you and that you learned something from? What are just a couple that off the top of your head, you're like, this is one I'm like, if someone had to seek out my work, I would want them to see this.
I did this short film with my friend Alicia Castaneda called God Save the Children. Okay. And it was about this cult that kind of kidnaps pregnant people. And they're, in the cult's words, like pregnant women. But it was me who was like a teen pregnant girl, and then
Gotcha.
my like best friend in the cult who is a trans man who hadn't gone through any
Gotcha.
hormonal changes, so he was still able to like get pregnant, but like in the cult's words,
Gotcha.
like he was a girl.
Gotcha.
And so like they would like kidnap these women and like make them carry their babies into term, and like it was just really bad. And so in the short film we were trying to escape, and I don't know, that role was really tough for me because of my backstory in it. I don't know, I don't want to like spoil anything.
Okay. You don't have to.
Yeah, it was something where I had to like kind of like dig deep into. Gotcha. And like I just remember a monologue in it that I had to do, and I was like physically like just shaking because of like how much of myself I had to give to the performance. And we only did that take twice. Did the like twice.
Yeah.
Because it was just so much. And but I remember the DP being like, "Are you okay? Like, this is like you're scaring me." And I'm like, "It's fine." Like, I'm just acting. But yeah, I really am proud of my work in that. I just did another short film.
Okay.
With Liam Connaughton called CONFINING. Yep. Yeah.
What a character.
I love this guy.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's genius and really funny.
He is one of the funniest people I've ever met. You mentioned John Swanbeck. He and I had one of John Swanbeck's classes. And if you know anything about John Swanbeck, we only have so much time. We got to get stuff done. And if you delay that, you're not gonna have a good day. And I can't tell you how many times that I was fighting for my life when a scene would be going on and he and I would be off to the side, and just maybe the hardest I've ever had to fight to hold back class, because we would just be looking at each other and like just the dumbest things. I want him on this show so bad because he's incredible. Please. And so yeah, I have to. I'm pretty sure he would do it. He is amazing. And so going off of so we've talked about acting on tape, acting, in like film. So we talked about how you have this live performance background, acting in plays. You just recently were in one that was very good. And so what's the feeling you get when you're doing a performance live that's different? Because obviously, is it more nerve-wracking than it is to be on a set, because you only get one take, and this one take, there's no edits that you can get on it, and you're in front of people, but can it also be more freeing in a way? What is the difference that you've noticed, and how do you feel when you're performing live?
On set, I feel more comfortable because there is time before, like in between takes, where I kind of just like will talk to the other cast members and the crew and just like fuck around. But when I'm doing like a live performance, like in theater, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to poop before going on stage. Like
I've thought about this. This is one of my fears.
I am so nervous every single time, and I just have to go. And it's never like I actually have to go. It's just like the feeling, because I'm just so nervous.
Yes.
And then I'll go on and then say my first line, and then I'll be fine. Like in the play that you saw, I had the first line, and I'm going on stage, and I'm behind the front door, and every single time I will like look on the floor to see the light come up, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I have to poop so bad. Like, why am I doing this? Like, why did I choose to be an actor? Like, I'm so nervous right now." And then I would go on, say my line, to be like, "Oh, this is why." Like, I love doing this. I love hearing the audience's reactions to things that I don't really get to have when I'm on set, because everyone has to be quiet because we're rolling. But yeah, there's different pros and cons to each.
Okay. Yes. As someone who was in a very high level high school choir for 3 years, I know that, especially because we were wearing these penguin suits pretty much just without the long
Yeah.
tails. But the idea, I cannot tell you how many times I would get nervous, like, well, if I have to go, I have to go. Like, what if they go on stage and like I have to get out of the suit, and then I would be in the suit and I'd be up there like, what if, because I sometimes I have stomach problems. What if my stomach hurts and I'm on the middle of the stage, we're singing Si Chiovere Morire, and I like, what do I do? Everyone's watching me. All the light, it's getting hot. And then we would sing the first, like, we would get to the chorus, and I wouldn't even be thinking about that. But is live performance something that you want to continue to doing? Like, do you want to keep? Because you see a lot of like even the high actors at the highest level, they bounce between. They'll do a movie or a show, and then they'll do something on Broadway. They'll do something off Broadway, different things. Is that a trajectory you see your career going, is bouncing back and forth between the two, since they are so different and gratifying in their own ways?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially since a lot of my friends have been like, when are you going to be in a play again? And I was like,
I'm one of those people asking.
I know. I was like,
when's the next one?
Have no clue. I just have not really been auditioning for things recently, but only because I am supposed to film a feature film in January.
What?
Yeah.
Awesome. I did not know about that. Breaking news.
Yep.
You heard it here first.
Okay. So yeah, it's supposed to be a horror film, so I'm trying to like get ready for that. Production has been like pushed back a little bit, so I don't want to get cast in a play like thinking that I'll be going like rehearsing after I film the feature film, and then the feature gets pushed back again, and then so that conflicts. So
Okay. So this we mentioned it, the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Can't even talk. Ghost Can't Pay Rent. How did that come about? How'd you get involved in that? And what was that whole experience like? We got to see the tail end of it when you were performing live, and I know we loved that. It was a great show. You all did great. We were all buzzing after it, and we were so happy that there's a good turnout. So how did that come about, and what was that whole experience like for you?
So I found it on Backstage, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is a cool concept. It's about this woman who lives with a ghost, and the ghost keeps like scaring off all of her roommates. And so she's like, please, I just need one roommate to help me pay the bills. And then so she finds a roommate, and that roommate just happens to be a witch. So it's about all of them living together. And so I was like really intrigued by the story, because I was like, oh, I love supernatural things. And so I like had submitted myself for the waitress role, the kind of like the main character, and I got a message from the casting people, and they're like, oh, audition for the witch role. And I was like, okay, cool. Like that's so cool. Like I think this character is also like really interesting. I do my audition. It was just like a self-tape of a monologue that I had in the back of my head. And so I did it, and I was like, oh, okay, like I don't know if I did like that good, but whatever. I didn't hear anything back for like a week, and I was like, okay, fine. Like I didn't get it. That's cool. And then next day, after thinking that, I got a call back, and I was like, oh, sick. And then so I go to the callbacks, and I am with a room full of like female presenting people, because not all of them are like women. Some of them were non-binary. And so I'm like in this room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels so nice. Like I get to just like watch people act, and I have my stuff prepared, and I'm acting with them, and it's just like so nice. That's awesome. We're going on stage, and we're acting, and then we sit back down, and then we wait for, like, we have a break, and after the break, we are going to like hear who's going to go home. And after I like went up, I was like, I got this in a bag. Like I know, like not to be cocky, but I know I'm getting this. And then so I'm just like waiting to see if I'm gonna get sent home, because obviously I don't know for sure.
Yes.
just like sitting there, like a little nervous. And then they name off all of the names that like they were sending home, and I did not get named. And I'm like, yes, cool, so sick. And then there's like another round, and then after that, everyone was gonna go home. So I go up, and this time they have me like reading for the main girl, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm just like reading off, blah, 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 fun, cool, quirky. And then they send me home, and I'm like, okay, there are a few people that I think could get the roles that I read for. If they get it, that's like super sick for them. Like, I love that for them, but I'm like super confident in myself. And then another week goes by, and I'm like, wow, I did not get it. Like, I was super confident in this, and I did not hear anything. And then again, the next day, I get an email as I'm at work, just clocked off for my break. I get an email saying, okay. I get an email from them with them offering me the main role. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And so I was like really excited about that. And just that whole experience was so cool. Everyone was so nice, and I loved the collaboration with it. And I don't think I would trade it for the world.
Yeah, it all came together, and I yeah, like I said, we all enjoyed it so much. It was so well written, so well acted, well staged as well. It was a great production. Hats off to everybody involved, the crew, everybody. And yes, I know that we are all excited to see your next venture. And I know something else you've gotten into when Johnny was living with us. This is how I learned that you were getting into this, was script supervising, scripty. How did that come about, and can you explain the ins and outs of that position to someone who may not be familiar with it, and why is it something that intrigues you?
I was a PA on a short film, and someone was being a script supervisor, and I was like, oh, what's this? Because it was, again, during the pandemic, and for CCH, we didn't have those. So I was like, what is this new role that I am seeing now?
Yeah.
So I was following around the script supervisor basically for like 3 days, trying to learn what she did. And I was like, okay, cool. And so for that role, it is basically making sure that all of the continuity is correct. And if anything is off, you make notes of it. And if it's like something really important, you tell like the AD or the director, so that it can be fixed in the next take. And so I was like, okay, I think I can be very like detail oriented, and I love visual things. I'm in the visual arts.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, I think I can do this. So that's what I did. I had one script supervisor gig, and I wrote everything by hand because I like torturing myself, apparently.
Everyone does.
Yes. And I was just like writing down all of my notes, like very like shorthand, so that I can understand what I'm like writing. And then I like typed it up for the editor later. And it was very gruesome. Like the fact that I had to like always like be there and like make sure that I'm paying attention to everything, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But it was still rewarding.
Okay. Well, I love to hear that. It's just another hat that you can wear. And I think I think we've all come to realize that wearing multiple hats is very, that's why, I got in this to be a director, but I write and I write my own material to act in because I'm too scared to do other people's stuff. So, and then that way I already have an in with the director, so I can just cast myself in a lot of things,
right?
Including a project that I'm still hoping to have you involved in. Hopefully that I've teased it 1,000 times on this show, the audio drama I'm working on. I think it's that much closer to happening. Just got to get more things ironed out, but and even beyond that, there's a lot of projects that I also have you in mind for that I would love to work with you on. And so as we're kind of winding down, I always wind down with the same way on all these, with not just any questions, the questions, 6 questions You can take as long or as little time as you want to answer them. They're not rapid fire by any means, but just whatever comes to mind. So the first question is, what's a particular directing note that stuck with you?
Oh God. Shit. To breathe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. I tried to I this comes from something that I learned very early on, or just something that a piece of advice that was given to me very early on. And so for you, I want to know, what do acting awards mean to you, if anything? Do they have any sort of value? Are they something you're chasing, something you care about, or are they just superfluous? What do you think? How do you feel
Mm,
towards them?
I don't really care about the awards.
Mhm.
Like it would be cool to have an
Okay.
Oscar one day, but I genuinely don't care about it. I just like acting and I want people to relate to what I'm doing and
Mhm.
have that like emotional like reaction to it.
Mhm.
And if people deem that worthy of an award, then thanks guys. But I just I don't know. But I'm also competitive. So if I am
If
nominated
you
for
were in
something,
the running.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because bringing it up again, you think this man pays me. The Podfather,
Mm-hmm.
he very early on, he told me, he told my whole class, don't chase the Oscar. And I've sort of changed that to my own thing is, don't chase the accolades. I don't, I want people to like my stuff. I want, if people want to heap praise on me, go right ahead. I'll eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not why I do it. It's for the art to connect with somebody. I think it's more valuable if, a kid or someone who's going through a hard time sees your art, and I think it maybe makes them make a change in their life, or have just some sort of feeling. I think that's more valuable than any golden statue. But like you
Mm-hmm.
said, if I was nominated for them and I won them, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm gonna show those things off. I'm going to carry them around like they're a wrestling belt.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want me to win an award, or I will be unbearable with it. Okay. Question number 3.
Okay.
This one's really hard hitting.
Okay.
Could you talk about why cats are awesome, and why do they get a bad rap from people?
Because okay, cats are awesome because they have their own boundaries, and if they want to share like a space with you, then it's kind of like you're deemed worthy. I think they get a bad rep because of those boundaries though. Because kind of like their counterpart dogs are just like, oh my gosh, like I want all the
Yes.
love, blah, 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 blah. Like I don't get me wrong, I love dogs. This is not me shit talking dogs. It's just cats aren't always like that. Cat, they just they kind of just. I'm looking at my cat right now. That's what I'm doing. They will choose who they want to hang out with if they want to hang out with them at that time. If they get like kind of like overstimulated by like all the pets, they will like nip at you because they're like, stop, like I don't like it. And that's fine. Like if you're done, then I'm gonna be done petting you. Like I myself respect boundaries. That's why I like cats. Because
Yeah.
I feel like this is a very odd thing to say, but I feel like my cat has really helped me like
Mhm.
force myself to have boundaries like
Okay.
that, and has helped me grow as a very like strong person, because she is very much like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, I'm going to tell you what I need, because she's also very talkative, and if I don't like something, I'm not going to do it. Like I'm going to
Mm.
complain about it, and I'm like, you go girl, like you're teaching
Yes.
me stuff. So
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, yes. I'm happy that this could be a platform for that. I love cats. I My family has always been a dog family. My son Fitz is in the next room.
Mm-hmm.
My first sister, Chacha, is up above. My brother Mikey is back home with my parents. My fur niece is with my sister. But
Mm-hmm.
my first pet I ever had was a cat named Boots. I wonder where I got the name from. He was taken too soon. But I love cats, and it breaks my heart that people give them such a bad rap. They are great.
Yeah.
We are in the bottom 3 of the questions, but that does not mean that
Okay.
they're any lesser. Can you put to words the effect a strong support group has on you?
Yes, I can put them into words. Have been able to, one, be able to grow into the person I want to grow into, and be able to work on the things I want to work on, with film, and but also like with myself. And they have truly given me like a safe space to go through all of the metamorphosize, I don't know, all of the changes,
Okay.
that
I think
I
it's
need
right.
to get through to be who I am today. If I did not have like my support, my truly madly deeply, like the people that I love in my life, like with all of my heart, I don't think I would be able to be who I am today. I don't think I'd be able to be as good of an actor that I am today without them. So like I think about how much I love my friends on a daily basis, because I would not be able to be here without them, without you guys.
Hey, that's what we'd love to hear. Well, you know, we're happy to support. We're happy to stand. Okay, next question, number 5. With acting and music under your belt, as well as script supervising, is there any other position or even another medium of storytelling that you want to crack at? We've talked about this a little bit, but is there, have you ever, you talked about writing, but, have you ever, has directing ever had an itch, or do you want to write a book? I mean, you talked about other things you want to do, and you're writing the book about poetry. So is there anything that we maybe haven't mentioned today that is something that intrigues you storytelling wise?
Yeah, I have an idea for a short film
Okay.
that I'm like tossing around in my brain. I have already talked about it with my roommate who is a director, the one that I did God Save the Children with, Alicia, because I would want her to like
I built
direct
many in
it.
order for her at CCH.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I want to write that short film, and
Okay.
of course I'm writing the poetry book. Directing does, like, I like directing, I just haven't done it. Because we had to do everything in CCH, I did a directing class, and it was really fun. Like I had a good time like directing the actors, and I think because I am an actor, it kind of like helped me get through to them. I don't know, I like art, I like painting, but like it's
Okay.
not like so serious.
Just something for recreationally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's when I came up with that question. Yeah, the first thing I thought about was directing, because you see so many actors make that leap because they have that inherent connection to the actors, because they've been in there. So that was one that I thought, I was like, oh, I would like to see Nala direct someday. I was hoping that's where you would go. That's why I kind of led it that way. But last question. Take it. This one might hit the hardest. I don't know. When it's all said and done, how do you want Nala the person to be remembered, and not necessarily Nala the actor?
I want Nala the person to be remembered as someone who just loves and wants people to know that I wanted to share as much love and like as much acceptance as I could, because I don't know, like I want to show people that like if I can do all of this like growing, then like they can do it too. Like I kind of just want to be an example of like where healing and loving can go, because I have seen people be scared a lot of love and caring because they have been hurt so much. And not saying that I haven't, like I have also been there. I have been scared. I have been too scared to like even like open myself up anymore. And because I like breaking myself down so much and like rebuilt myself, and now am happier than I've ever been and more focused than I've ever been, I want people to know that that's okay too. Like that's where they can get to too. Not saying that like everyone's gonna like take the same road as I have, but just know that it's possible to love again, because that's where everything starts as.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. I love that. Yes, I think that that's the best way that this could have ended. I love that. I love having you on here, and if you ever want to come back, you are more than welcome. This is such a great talk, and getting to see the thing I love about this show is to highlight storytellers and then also highlight the struggles, but highlight the people, because I think that that's going to be what endears people to us more, not just because of anything else or whatever may come with whatever profession that you have. It's just to see that you might be willing to give more support when you know that these are people who are struggling to tell these stories, but that at the end of the day, they are striving to be the best version of themselves. So thank you so much, Nala, for coming on. If there's anything you want to plug or anything you want people to, I think I said in one episode, I told my guests that, if they want to even plug a deal at their favorite sandwich shop that's going on or something, anything that you want, any establishment that, any local bit, anything, whatever, if you want to plug anything, you can go right ahead right now.
I don't think I have anything to plug.
Okay. That's all good.
Keep loving, guys. That's it.
What a message. That could even be, maybe that'll be the title. Who knows? It might be. Whatever. It's going to be one of your quotes. I can tell you that. But yes, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of Not Just a Guy. If you want to follow me on the socials, they're in the description, stuff like that. I'm an old man, so I post very infrequently. Yes, this has been another edition of Not Just a Guy. Thank you all for listening. I have been your host, Not Just a Guy, the guy, Garrett Briones, and I will talk at you next time.